All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is J. Marie. We are at it again for another Quickies brought to you by QOC Network. And this guy, he black, he's here too.
Again. I'm here too.
My longtime collaborator, he black. There you go. Is that better? That's better.
Yes, that was
that
the great.
Sounded like this heinous of bullshit. But go ahead.
Okay.
What we got? What we got? Where we at?
Let's talk about. Do you ever have dating preferences?
What?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Yes, I do. But what? Okay. What?
There was a time in my life that I only liked light-skinned women.
Okay.
Is that a preference or is it discrimination?
I think that's a preference. It's a preference.
Okay. What if I told you I only liked women who
liked? It's not like they did. I don't know what that word is.
I only liked women who were under 200 pounds. Is that discrimination or is it preference?
Maybe the dude is a weak ass nigga. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's why. Or he doesn't prefer to lift up heavier women. I don't know.
Okay.
What
if I told you I only liked white women?
That's a preference.
That's a preference? I think that's discrimination.
I think it's discrimination when you are hating your own race and you're speaking ill against your own race and you're dating outside of your race because of that mindset. I think that's discrimination, not your preference in white women instead of Latino, instead of Indian, instead of Asian, instead of black women, women of color. You want a white woman. That's a preference. As long as you're not demeaning other races because of it. I mean, I think
what about
have a preference?
What about job? What if I've heard women say that they can't date a man who makes less than $50,000 a year. Is that discrimination or is it a preference?
That's a preference. Certain quality of life.
We're about to roll the video.
If that's what she's looking for, that's the quality of life she's trying to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to maintain that quality of life. That's the preference, maybe.
It sounds like discrimination, but it could be preference. But we have a video.
Okay. We're going to see.
Hafiz and the roommates. They did a great video. We're about to play it. Let's roll.
Okay, let me see.
Doesn't want to be with a light-skinned man. Preference.
Yeah.
Man says want to be with a dark-skinned woman. Discrimination.
For sure.
Women says she doesn't want to be with a short man.
Oh no, preference.
How many times have you heard that?
We hear that all the time.
Almost every girl I've ever met will always say, besides one exceptions,
yeah,
I want a guy who's taller than me.
Yeah.
Man says that he doesn't want to be with an overweight woman.
Oh Lord, you can't say that online.
Discrimination.
100%. 100%. And hateful. Hate speech.
Women says she doesn't want to date a man with a small penis.
Oh.
Have you heard that before?
All the time.
Preference. Man says he doesn't want to date a woman with a small butt.
Discrimination. You hate women's bodies. All women's bodies.
Women say she doesn't want to date feminine men.
Yep. Preference.
I don't like them. Men don't want to date masculine women.
You're just not a real man, please.
You can't handle her. You can't handle a strong woman. You're intimidated.
You're weak. Little B word.
Women say she doesn't want to be with a man who doesn't have a certain amount of money.
Oh, that's a huge preference.
Have you heard that?
All the time.
Well, I make 50. I want a guy making 50. Well, I make 100. I want a guy make 6 figures. I make 200. I want a guy on my level. Man says he doesn't want a beautiful woman who doesn't have a certain type of look.
Oh yeah, no.
Discrimination.
See, alley that.
So I think if you are in the dating game long enough these days, if you're still hanging out in the dating game,
Okay, that sounds like a disqualifier for me, but I get it. I get it. Go
anyway,
ahead.
if you're hanging out in the dating game, if you're in the dating world, and
because I have no preferences, I've never had. I've.
If you're in the dating game, I think you need to understand you have to adjust some things. I've learned because I was that woman who was like, you have to have all these certain things that match. And finances was one of them. But when I started to see that the financials wasn't aligning with everything else, and then it was just the financials that was up there, everything else was low level, fuck boy, this, that, and the third, then I started to recognize it's not about the dollar sign per se. It is about what else he brings to the table. It is about what else he can help build with me, that I start to think about. So I'm one of the few, whatever that guy said, one of the few. I'm not of that mindset these days, but I was. I understood why women thought like that.
So you
because it's like, why do you want?
You dated short, rich man, is what you're saying. Or let me ask.
They was at least my height.
Or let me ask.
They were at least my height. I'm just saying they were at least my height.
Let me rephrase that.
Some were taller, you know. So
you've dated, or let me ask you this: have you experienced during that period of time dating somebody who was not necessarily tall, who didn't, or the other preferences that you had, basically on financial?
And you talking about solely judging them or having a dating preference solely on financial qualifications? Have I ever had that? No. It's been more, it's had to be more to it for me than that, for me personally. And I've never been somebody who thought like most women I've heard, because I've had most women tell me, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? Why the fuck would you this? And why the fuck that? And so many fucks that I had to stop giving a fuck what they thought at that point. But it was me learning that I didn't think like a lot of women. So, you know, my opinion is that it has to be more than just the money. It has to be more than just one of the preferences that line up for me to say, you know, this is where I'm at. This is what I want to.
What about the men who had preferences? What did you think about those? Because they listed off a couple of preferences. I kind of seen you shaking.
It used to be. I used to get offended by that too, where especially me being thin or small or medium framed, whatever you want to say, that any of the men that I dated that had a preference of, oh, I normally date thicker chicks, or I normally date big bone women or whatever, and you the exception, I tend to not deal with them just because that's already out the gate, kind of the way your mindset is set up. And that's not the way that I think. That doesn't align with my type of guy. So I can't just be like, okay, be mad about it, but now just hear what they say, hear what they into and all that kind of stuff, and just already know mentally, like, this ain't who you gonna even fool with. This ain't who you even interact with.
How did we get to that point? Do you think it was social media? Do you think it was I don't know.
where we started perpetuating certain normalisms, new
yes,
normals and things like that. Um,
because I understand, like
I think it has a lot to do with social media. Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody about that, and I think it does have a lot to do with social media because I caught myself saying something the other day, and I was like, why do I think like that? Why did I think that that was something to be, thought whatever about? And then when I traced it back and thought about where did I see it, what did it, where is this thought process coming from? It was a social media post I saw some years ago, and I'm like, damn, I remember that post, and it said XYZ, and that's why I started not even thinking like that overtly, but I think subliminally, social media has a way of influencing, just as we see with businesses and things like that, marketing. It has a way of influencing our thought patterns and societal norms.
I'm gonna say
Unfortunately,
it started with TLC No Scrubs. They fucked up the whole
the
dating.
music industry,
They no
the
no they
music
fucked
in
up the
the
dating.
music industry no the music industry started to perpetuate a lot of different division in the music. Now if we want to be real, it's a lot of stuff to come around with that.
Mhm.
So the music we listening to, all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of reasons why we start to think like that. And then there's a lot of women who, from our mothers, aunties generation and so on and so forth, that started to be the bitter women that were raising the other, the women now my age and things like that, that are developing these normalisms. Niggas ain't shit. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I can't rely on a man. I can't this, I can't that. The overly independent ones, the underly dependent ones, or the ones that depend on a nigga for everything, the damsels in distress. We've got a variety of types of women now that are in the dating pool. So when we're talking about what levels of preferences and things like that they accept, a lot of times that's where it's coming from. And that's where the men are coming from with what they're coming from. If they lead with money, then they maybe were raised that a man provides. And that's what they lead with, or they could be overcompensating.
Well,
There's a
okay.
lot
I
of it's a lot
I,
of
be,
things.
I want to say I also believe that women. I think social media has given you more access to different types of individuals. So you're overly sensitive to the rejection from, say, your local area expectations. If you're from a small town, having Bentleys and Corvettes and diamond rings and a whole bunch of other things, that's not really realistic. But now that you have access to these type of individuals, especially as women, now it's like, yeah, as long as I have a profile, I can get access to a Bentley. I'm one click away, I'm one DM away from these type of individuals. And from the male perspective, we're competing
Mm.
with those also. So I think, but then at the same time, we're also saying we have more access now. So
Yeah,
I think
it's a
for
balance of options. It's a balance of options, and it's knowing you can have a plethora of options. But if you start really looking at if you start really unfortunately going off of your preferences, then you start to have a smaller pool of individuals. Now you don't have as many options. If you have, high level expectations, we'll say, then you
or you
don't
just
have as many options.
run into more crazy people. I think that's another thing. I think I think
That is.
the more narrow your standards or preferences are, and the more that you meet people who meet them but are crazy as hell, I think it's more or less a statement about your preference. Because
I
every
got a. Hmm.
oh, go ahead, tell us a
We
story.
got no. I'm just saying we got a letter that ties into this crazy shit with
Okay.
the friend thing. So you let me know when you ready for that one,
Well,
because yeah,
is there anything that you do discriminate against?
mm, not particularly. I have preferences. I just
Well,
have preferences. I just have preferences. I do.
okay.
I do. it's preferences that has nothing to do with like, oh, he does need to have a job, okay, but the type of job he has doesn't have a lot of bearing on my mindset of his capability of being a man, as much as a lot of Black women particularly, or women in general, I'll say will tend to put that job that man has on his ability to be a good man based off of that alone. And they look at, oh, he's a banker, or oh, he's a doctor, or, oh, he's this high status individual, and attribute that to him also being a good person, and then forget about, you know,
Yeah,
the other
they
shit
can
that
be in.
come with it.
Yeah, they can be in jail. They can. Yeah, you know. If you are in jail right now and you want to reach out to the Dirty Podcast,
Whoa, for what? We about to.
we only have preferences here. Please.
Oh, but what the fuck, you? We Black.
Look, look. It's okay to have.
I
You can be discriminative. We all can be discriminative, but it's a positive discriminative also that matches up with our preferences, right?
a positive. I don't know. A
I think
positive
she got caught up with the
discriminative.
jail. She got caught up with the jail part. I don't think you would date
What?
anybody. I don't think you would date anybody who's in jail. I think that's against.
I've not been presented with those
But I think you would.
opportunities,
I think you
nor
would
do I.
discriminate. Just say that you would discriminate.
I've not been presented with that opportunity.
Okay, we're gonna roll with that. But anyway, so to everybody, we're going to end. I'm telling you right now, I can already see the comments from certain members of our QOC.
Why?
I'm telling you.
Because of what?
Look, there's just
certain members of QOC because of what?
Because it's just preferences, right? There's no discrimination.
Okay, and what are you saying?
Okay.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
We will see you on the next segment of the QOC. Peace out.
Quickies on the QOC network. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
Friday night quickies. Friday night quickies.